Hello and welcome to this special segment by Agency Reporter today, where we are hosting Ruchira Jetli, who heads marketing at HMD India, Gopa Menon, who is the Chief Operating Officer at Isobar India, Brijesh
Gone.
Punyal, who is the Joint MD at Athenos, which is a digital marketing agency. We have Siddharth Dabade with us, who is the Managing Director at MIQ India, which is a media analytics and tech solutions company. I think this is as good as it gets, and my panelists today will help us get a tight grip on the subject of a cookieless internet. Well, it's hard to imagine the internet without cookies, which acted as a very critical tool in helping us understand consumer behavior and helped with very precise targeting, but with concerns surrounding consumer privacy and security and the rise in consumer awareness about the same, it was really evident that sooner or later internet would become cookieless, and the announcement has now come, right? So you all know that Google and other major players have decided to block third-party cookies in the near future. I think in about 2 years. So what does this development mean to digital advertising as we know it? And how can we reach out to consumers more efficiently and effectively in absence of cookies? A warm note of thanks to the folks at MIQ who helped facilitate this conversation. And welcome Ruchira, Gopa, Brijesh, and Siddharth. Thank you all for finding out time to be on the panel with us today. So let's start today's discussion, and let me bring in Brijesh first, and then Siddharth can throw some light on the concept of first party and third party cookies, and precisely how do they affect digital advertising, right? And let's take a minute each. Brijesh, you can go first, and then Siddharth can come in.
Okay. So to answer your question, see, from a technical perspective, they are the same. The difference is basically, how they are created and they are used later. So for example, first party cookies are stored by the website. When you're visiting the website directly, they allow the website owners to collect analytics data, remember user setting, and perform other functions that will help you provide a good user experience. So for example, if a user is visiting my retail site, I will get data collected on their language preference, user detail from sign up, past products, categories, purchase info. And then, you can use this data to analyze, personalize communication and use it for stronger retargeting. When it comes to third party, those are created by domains other than the one the user is visiting, and they are mainly used for tracking from an online advertising purpose. So if you're using any analytics, social, ad tech, video integrations on your site, then you are is sent to third party and is some like an ad platform. So they collect large masses of demographics, behavior data, and then it's used to expanding your and find new audience. So without third party cookie, you would have actually, I think that's about the difference between the first party and third party from my side.
Siddharth?
Completely agree with Brijesh. And I would just like to add here that from an India context perspective, it's important to note that the majority of our consumers are actually on mobile. So cookies are very, very relevant for a lot of big Western markets. For India also it is relevant, but we have so much of mobile, related access in India. That is something which is a very interesting factor which I just wanted to put up. I had nothing to add to what Brijesh had in terms of definition, so that's why I'm adding this as a critical factor here.
Sure. Thank you, Siddharth. Gopa, what changes do you think programmatic will go through when these third-party cookies eventually phase out?
Again, interesting. Again, before we started, I was just again telling that we've been brought up in, or at least for a decade or two, we know that internet has been for cookies, and people have been using this for various forms of advertising, be it retargeting, conversion, mapping, all of that as well. When now this thing is getting phased out because of privacy issue and GDPR issues, all of that, and definitely there will be an impact both from an advertiser perspective as well as from, let's say, an agency marketer. Everybody will get affected. The big first impact is that obviously the way that we used to actually used to track consumers will change, and that will obviously result in other resultant things as well. What will happen, I think, and what will be the need of the hour, and how marketers would want to react to it, would be to actually start building their first party data, because I think that has never been a single-minded focus for most of the brands. While I think there's some brands which have started doing it, but focus on first party data. And also some reversal on the way that we used to advertise earlier. Contextual advertising will be back, because again, the data, you would not have cookies to actually keep on tracking that user. So definitely contextual advertising, first party data, looking at one single view of a customer. So customer data platform and CRM will also become important in that sense. So while there would be cookieless world will obviously result in lots of changes in how we advertise, I think it's for good as well. I think it's necessitated from the thing that I think Google and other big companies are doing. I think we'll have to evolve on that.
Right. Thank you so much, Gopa. Ruchira, with consumer privacy being at the forefront in coming days, what challenges will the advertisers face with regards to measurement and media buying?
Great question, actually. Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
I just wanted to add one more part to it, and I wanted to ask you if you think strongly that the brands will now need to focus more strongly on building up their audiences firsthand. These are two questions in one.
Yeah. So, first of all, I just want to state right up front, HMD is a Finnish startup. So our data is all headquartered out of Finland, which is in the heart of Europe. So GDPR and GDPR compliance for us has been pretty much from day one. So we've always had to. There are a lot of, in fact, just yesterday we were trying to get something through our legal on targeting with the voice solution, and the first question was, what is the consumer consent, and are we actually compliant? So as a company, this has always been big for us, and therefore a cookieless future is something that we're aware is coming. And we're still for me personally, it is a little scary. Like Gopa said, the last 2 decades, we've shaped all of our behavior, our spends, our buying, our KPIs and our measurement, whether it's reach and frequency, and what's a good reach and frequency plan even for digital, right? Basis what was enabled by cookies and third-party data, really. It wasn't something that you did on your own, right? So the first thing that's going to change for us is a big reset to say, how many people are you actually in a direct conversation? How many people are you directly engaging with as a brand, right? And just stepping back a little bit, I think a brand and consumer intimacy is probably, if you look at it, the lowest you can possibly get is on TV, where it's one way. We thought we were getting to some place with digital marketing, with engagement and click through. Now we're going to have to go to a completely different level of just sheer consumer intimacy, right? To say, how do you know your consumers? How do you engage with them? How are you there where, and to your point on creating data, data is a very cold word. For me, it is about saying, how close are you really to your consumer on their decision journey, where they're going, what are the places they visit? So it could be, how do you leverage, not just online, which is CRM, your website, what's happening there? How do you leverage what's happening in the physical world? And we as a business have the opportunity to operate in both, right? Because we have our own e-commerce side. We work with, marketplace and partner.com like an Amazon or a Flipkart. But equally, we're also in the physical world. So how do you take these disparate sets of data and really create a consumer identity? Because all of those nice remarketing pools or lookalike audiences that you're creating are not going to be as easy to get to, right? And the third one is also, what is the deterministic data that you can pick up? And I'm using a lot of nice terms that my team has also educated me on, because this is something that we're thinking of every day. So to your point on, can we create it ourselves? Where is it going to come from? So we actually embarked on a very interesting mission earlier, and I'm going to take a little more time if that's okay. But this is a huge passion for us right now, which is to say, how do we identify tribes of consumers who are warm to the brand and whose interests and shared culture and values are close to what we want to be? They may or may not be on a Nokia device, right? How do we identify them across the world? How do we identify them in India and create our digital tribes and start connecting with them over shared interests, values, concerns, right? And the moment you do that, it's not just contextual, which will be very expensive, by the way. It's not just SEM, which is going to benefit from that last, click attribution. It's also the fact that you can have an ongoing conversation. And as a marketer, it's very exciting. It's the best challenge, if you ask me, versus just anonymized data. We don't know who we're targeting, but we're getting some reach frequency, some click numbers. I mean, how are they attributed, etc. So I think it's a very long answer to what was a very crisp question from you. It is scary. It is the ultimate marketer's challenge to get closer to consumers. And it's going to require a reset in the way we evaluate the efficiency and the cost of anything that we're doing. So, yeah.
No, that's very detailed, and thank you so much, Ruchira. Siddharth, can you talk about alternative strategies that currently publishers and advertisers have in front of them?
Yeah, so this has become like an urgent issue because earlier it was like Firefox and Apple which had announced developments in these areas, and now Google has also announced. And Google has announced it in this year, and there is still some time. They are talking about 2022, but of course, it's very very close as well now because we will be getting into 2021, and by that time, marketers have to be ready with their strategy. Unfortunately, actually, a lot of channels do not depend on cookies. So, for example, mobile I talked about initially, which is huge for a country like India. Then connected TV, digital out of home, audio. Creative formats can work with macro data like weather trend or contextual signals like time of day, day of week, which browser, ISP, geolocation, and so on. Keyword and topic contextual targeting, content on the page of the data. Contextual targeting was talked by Gopa as well. What is the data in the URL? These are also very, very definite contextual signals which work very well, and many times they work actually better than cookie-based signals as well. And I completely agree with what Ruchira said. It is very, very important for advertisers to create their own first-party data. Many companies are working on building data lake and customer data platform. And there is also, this probably a myth that companies which are having their own digital traffic, they can build a lot of first-party data. It is not exactly so. There are also a lot of ways in which you can use second-party data and use it to enrich your first-party data and customer data platforms. In fact, we at MIQ are helping.
Hello and welcome to this special segment by Agency Reporter today, where we are hosting Ruchira Jaitley, who heads marketing at HMD India, Gopa Menon, who is the Chief Operating Officer at Isobar India, Brijesh Punyal, who is the Joint MD at Ethinos. We have Siddharth Dabade with us, who is the Managing Director at MIQ India, which is a media analytics and tech solutions company.
You can also work in clean data rooms environment, like for example, Google Apps Data Hub, where you can use your own data and combine it with, any third-party data access which you would have, and also the first-party data which is there with Google as well. Of course, the constraint is that you cannot pull out the enriched data and use it in your own customer data platform, but you can definitely execute your marketing campaigns in the Ads Data Hub environment by doing all the analytics which you would want to do and then using that data for doing the campaigns as well. And then there are other options also available where you can even pull out the data and use it to enrich your own customer data platform as well.
Thanks, Siddharth. Brijesh, if you can tell us about the creative channels that are available in the open web, can you throw some light on that?
So I think, again, there are a few things which will happen here. As Gopa rightly pointed out, some of the people, advertisers are going to go back to contextual targeting. But contextual targeting again has a problem like attribution, frequency management. And there is a reason why a lot of advertisers move from contextual to cookie-based. What will start happening is that digital identity and cross-device identity graphs will start becoming very important. There are actually a lot of platforms like LiveRamp who are building solutions along with several players on demand and supply side to actually build industry standard identity framework, for every party. Today, if you ask me, I see the user behavior in our country also, as Siddharth also pointed out some time back, that India, most of the users are on mobile and a lot of high-end consumers are on app. And even the growth from Bharat, which is so-called Bharat, is going to happen from mobile. So mobile users spend 90% of their app and not on mobile web. So the app scenario right now will still remain, driven environment, and you will have identifiers like mobile ADIS and things like that, which will take the center stage. Also, we will see, more of the opportunities in channels like digital OOH, um, TV, connected audio, and use smart TV IDs and other device identifiers. These are all cookieless, and we've been using some of these, to see growth in our areas. They will now become a big overall media mix, and brand needs to move early to capitalize. And lastly, we'll have to also start putting more focus on the creative side of the advertising business. In the absence of hyper personalized, super relevant creatives, brand will need to come up with compelling formats and the creatives about the value of the product or service based use environment, which is not a bad thing at all. We may get to see some ads that we won't forget. So I think those things may start coming back, which a lot of people have, stopped and gone into a different mode altogether.
Thanks, Brijesh. See, we are reading these days that in closed environments, the industry is moving towards developing data clean rooms. So, Gopal, you can go first on this one, and then Siddharth can, I think, give his inputs on what exactly does data clean room, such as Ads Data Hub by Google, mean, and why is it suddenly being talked about so much? Quickly, if you can answer in 1 minute this one.
Data clean room, while I think it's a new buzzword, everybody is actually is talking about, by obviously popularized by Google, and I think other ad tech players are also coming up with their own set of tools. Simply put, it's a platform where all the data can be actually put together, and where third-party data can be actually mixed, and we can actually figure out different levels of attribution to measure how each platforms are working in that sense. So basically, again, if, you can actually create there are platforms where you are able to actually start looking at efficacy of, let's say, if you're doing Google, Amazon, and Facebook, which of the platforms are working better, and by putting in your own data, which can be first party, as Siddharth said as well, you can actually enrich that with your first party data and just trying to figure out the efficacy of your campaign. The only challenge that I see from, let's say, from Google kind of a tool is that the Google, Facebook, or Amazon, all of these are pretty much a walled garden. They don't share data. Data does not talk to each other. So obviously, marketer will have to actually create their own platforms for having a cross-media attribution worked out in that manner. So why it is important? Because obviously everybody wants to measure the efficacy of the platforms. Which platform is doing well, where you can actually put more money or reduce money, and where you are able to actually attribute your ROI with regards to spend. So you would want to actually do that, and that's why data clean rooms are becoming more and more important and a buzzword these days. So that you can add.
Yeah. Thanks, Gopal. Completely agree with you. And I would say, there are a lot of specific areas where these clean data rooms would be very, very helpful. Like, for example, you can create custom algorithms. So you can have weighted conversion, optimization, and ROI bidding using the floodlight variables, which traditionally is used for cookies, but now it will be used for getting the variables, and you can have bid modifications across domains, sellers, geography, day parts, etc., to hit custom KPIs. So, for example, like we were working with a financial services company, and we scored user activities on advertisers' website to give higher priority to the users close to the conversion point. And with that, we were able to drive 17% more conversions with 10% lower CPM. So in a way, what I want to highlight here is that this is something as a platform which will enable a lot of analytics, a lot of intersection of first party data and what data which you would have, and then kind of enrich that data in that environment. For example, Google will have a lot of data, or Amazon will have a lot of data, or even other platforms like Xandr. They will also have their own data, and they have their own clean data room as well. So you can basically intersect clients' data, first party data with the data which you are bringing to the table and enrich the analytics. And then from there, you can create custom algorithms and create better optimizations for the campaign. You can also answer questions like on reach and frequency optimizations. What is the optimal frequency for a given campaign? You can help in terms of supply path optimization and go very, very deep into execution strategies of these are the publishers which are giving us the best path of conversion, and this is how I should do the bidding. Or you can also answer questions related to attributions. What is the fair way to attribute conversions across multiple touch points? I also agree, as Gopal said, some of these are walled gardens, and it's not easy to get data aggregated across, and that is where there will also be a lot of focus on data science, data analytics, where you can have like a layer of your own analytics created on top of these platforms, so that you are at least able to have unified analytics and unified consumer view to the extent it is possible, and drive optimizations out of that. So bottom line, there is a lot which can be done, and some of these big brands have a lot of their own data which can help clients to optimize their campaigns in a very good way. There are limitations, but there are ways to overcome those as well in some ways.
Right, thanks for that. Ruchira, these developments will also impact relationship of brands and ad tech vendors, right? So how are brands choosing their partners in times when the industry is moving towards being cookieless?
Yeah, so you're right. It is changing. I think two things. One is not just the kind of relationships or the kind of vendors you go to, because there will be some whom you do not go to, right, in the future, because they've. But the second one is, which is more interesting, is also the services that we are also seeing now. So to your point on Google and the clean room that they're providing, there are certain solutions that they're giving us, which is all about optimizing not just getting a clean room and helping us therefore optimize in terms of our own targeting and outcomes, but also helping us get the last mile attribution going. Because for us, that last mile attribution is the most important part of it, right? So I think it's also the way we're engaging with, for example, walled gardens like Facebook and Google. I think the challenge for us, frankly, as a marketer, is there are a number of such propositions in different ad tech firms, and our biggest challenge is how do we actually work with those who understand our business problem and the consumer set we're trying to address, versus just looking at it as a one size fits all solution. Let me give you an example of what I mean. There is some CRM that we have, of course. We've got a large community, because with a smartphone, you have a large community of consumers who love your brand and engage with your brand, right? Equally, you will have whatever commerce you carry out online, and then you've got offline, where you actually come and interact even with your live devices and actually look at different kinds of, what are the kind of tools present? How do I get all of that together, right? So for us, it was, and frankly, where we were earlier in terms of ad tech was not addressing all of these streams either. So it is, in a sense, it is like an open challenge to say, can you help me pull all of it together? We've done some work with Xaxis on attribution, really, but I think that's just the first step. And people do have privacy concerns, and as a GDPR compliant company, I mean, that is something that's very, very important to us. So can we come back with something that looks at really pulling together these different streams of what consumers are doing, their interests, their behavior, their pulling it all together from their location, their device IDs. Are they accessing it on Android versus an iOS? And, what are the kind of, is it a tablet? It's all of huge importance to someone like me who wants to sell them their next device, to know what they're doing. So how do I work with people who can help me understand how they can pull all of that together and not just look at a solution in terms of a reach and frequency and what we're targeting. So yeah, it is a I would say a huge opportunity for someone who wants to come back to that.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Sorry, Ruchira, if I may ask you as well. Sorry if I can actually ask you a question.
Yeah.
Where you alluded to the data clean room that you're working with Google and trying to actually create and Google helping you to actually
Create
help,
marketing lists and
yes,
help
do that.
us,
So,
our creative scheduling,
yes,
etc.
so that's Google, and then you might be working with, let's say, Facebook and Amazon separately to build that.
Yeah.
Are you able to actually bring it all together?
Clearly, right? Biggest
not
challenge. You said it,
Yeah.
because these walled gardens are a big concern and issue. So there are cross media solutions as well that come to us. But I think for us, the cross media solutions, well, early days. I mean, not really seeing that kind of multiplier on behavior, but it's early days.
Because I'm thinking globally, I think marketers like Unilever creating their own rooms and trying to actually bring everything together, and then obviously on top of it, trying to run, let's say, Nielsen or some research to figure out what some kind of market mix modeling.
That's a great point, Gopal. Think of it from the point of view, and we see ourselves as really small Davids, and that the Goliaths for us are very different companies, right? So Unilever for us is a Goliath in terms of consumer and consumer data. Think of a small or a medium enterprise in India who has leveraged very basic ad tech coming from the kind of cookie pool targeting that has been done in the past, right?
Yeah.
And I'd like to say that we are a business as a small startup. We actually belong in that set. So that gives us the agility, gives us the flexibility, gives us a large size of price to go after. But we also need solutions that therefore are not just about our own data coming in, but also how we can leverage a larger ecosystem and different, kind of both the deterministic data and the probabilistic data. How does that all come together into one neat solution and then helps us understand what are the kind of outcomes we can drive?
So I completely agree with you, Ruchira, and I think this is the number one thing which most of the brands in India have told us, that they want to understand more about their own consumer, right? And as you said, multiple touch points, multiple factors, right? So that I can get a good understanding, and then if possible I can also have a unified view, or I should at least have an opportunity map and then figure out how I can reach out to them. And that's where meaning that's where the and I would just add here that even for smaller companies now it is possible to have their own customer data platform for sure, and then from there implement some of these strategies which you're talking about in a better manner than what is probably being done in the majority of the cases in the market, right?
And Siddharth, while you're at it, what's your opinion on other alternative solutions like IAB's Project Rearc?
Yeah, so I think they are an industry body, and all major companies are working with them. MIQ is also working with them, and they are looking at like an encrypted universal ID on the basis of email and phone number. That is their initial start point. But then there have been a lot of discussions around that, right? And they are also talking about that instead of defining a specific universal ID basis encryption of phone or email, they are also looking at evolving a set of standards working with the companies. And then from there, advertisers, publishers kind of agreeing to a common framework of defining the consumer ID. I think it's at an initial stage, but I think it's great that they are doing it. There's also Google's Privacy Sandbox initiative, which has started in this area. So I would say it's a good thing. Ultimately, industry is coming together to provide more respectful privacy to the consumers, and then there will be, as Ruchira was saying, it's probably a set point at this point in time, but it will lead to better solutions in the future. Industry coming together and respect for privacy will go up drastically from a technology perspective as well. Maybe there will be more technologies which will come up, new technologies which will come up, which will enable this and which will help these standards to evolve as well. So I would be recapping all the other strategies which we talked about, but I would say that there is a definite need for a common set of standards to evolve, and that's what IAB and probably Google and all these companies are looking at doing, and we are all parts.
Thanks, Siddharth.
If I might add something here, I think also what we also forget is that today a consumer is used to being targeted. I mean, is getting used to, or is on the way to becoming used to being targeted as a market of one. This is my interest. This is my set of, the context that I'm operating in, and you're targeting me today. And that's coming as a consequence of all the ad tech we've developed for the last couple of decades, right? The conversation of the how, what, when, how, what, and when, and how closely you engage with the consumer. There's a qualitative piece to it. I heard Brijesh talking about it, really, about saying different ad formats and clutter breaking stuff. I think there is also a big role that's going to come for creativity in how you assess what the consumer is doing in that context or in that situation, and how do you cut clutter with creativity, which, if you ask me, has been fairly low otherwise, because it's just about this common advert with one line that shifts up and down and literally follows you around the whole your web ecosystem. So I think there is something there that and this is the part that ad tech companies do not look at as much. I don't know if they invest as much, for example, of their AI and ML tools to really get closer to what could be clutter breaking. I don't know if you want to add something there.
No, I think you're right. I think some of the times those old days of having that amazing creativity, an ad which will give you a recall forever. Those things will we'll definitely have to work on those lines and start seeing. See, innovations had to come, right? As earlier days we were talking during the call that cookies have been there from 90s. Now we are in 2010. Something has to change, and the 2020 now. So some innovations have to come, and sometimes I think you are right. Those ad formats will become very, very important. Those creative angle which a lot of companies are not looking into will again become very important, because our Bharat, see, I think there has been BCAD, there has been before Christ, after Christ, before Corona, after digitization. The world has to change. So that BCAC is AD is. So there was for me an era which was before Corona, and now there is a new era, which is of digitization. I think we had one era of post Geo where we got a huge jump on the online visitors coming in, and now after Corona we have seen another big jump of online visitors coming in. So now we have to go and choose our customers. It's going to become the same media which was there. If I'm not wrong, I think US digital has already overtaken television, and so is going to be the forecast for India, where digital will overtake television. So all those things we were doing there, I think we'll have to start doing somewhere here also.
I will just add here, Ruchira, that for example, as we are talking about collecting first party data and collecting consumer content, consent, and all those things, right? So I think there are innovative, creative formats which will be coming in, which will enable that as well in a very interactive manner. Like we are seeing chatbots and conversational bots and all these things. And I also completely see this trend that there is also looking at the contextual signals and combining that with creatives. For example, the sports moments, or even like you are somewhere nearby, location is a good signal, and obviously that can be a contextual signal, and then you are able to provide the consumer a very relevant information, and also you are able to provide the store directions, for example. So some of these things obviously we see right now as well, but I think we will all get very innovative about this part more and more as we go along. And
thank you for bringing that up, Siddharth, because the other big thing we've seen coming out of post-corona, to what Brijesh is saying, is omni-channel is here to stay. Consumers do not want to give up physical touch points for digital ones. They want both. And they want it at their choice and their manner of choosing for everything. So, for example, this festive season, my understanding is that almost 48 to 50% of all smartphones will have sold online. Right? That's a literally half and half, right? And you can talk about, small town India, by the way, is as much on digital as it is on physical. So it's not just a metro mail kind of a demographic. So I think, to your point, again, omni-channel and the ability, and that's why I said the consumer decision journey first. How many of us truly understand how that decision journey is morphing literally by season? So let's say today there's COVID, so the decision journey has become less of retail. But tomorrow, if God willing, the skies clear up, the pollution goes away, Corona is gone with the Pfizer vaccine. I mean, you'll be in a place where people will be dying to be out and about, but they'll still want to engage with their brands, they'll still want to engage with business, they'll still want all the information and research, and they'll want to do it in a cookieless or in a manner in which their privacy is being maintained. So for me, omni-channel is the other big change factor. One is, of course, and how are we going to leverage that in a future where you can't generally just spam people across the place, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely. And audio is another format which is becoming popular. Podcasts are becoming so popular nowadays that is becoming like a go-to-market channel for many brands.
Yeah, so I think we are already out of time, but excellent input from all our guests today. And I think it's safe to say that without cookies, the digital ecosystem will now be even more dynamic. You guys have just proved that. And as advertisers and marketers continue to experiment with this, I think, ever evolving technology, the importance of first party cookies and reliability on the data gathered through it has increased more than ever. Everyone will agree here, I think. And to be successful in the cookieless world, in my opinion, a remodeled approach on user experience is what is needed by both brands and advertisers alike, right? So thank you so much everyone for joining in, and I think it was a very good discussion we had today because it was more free flowing. Thanks Gopa, thanks Ruchira, thanks Siddharth, and thanks Brijesh for joining in. See you guys next time. Stay safe. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Rahul.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot, everyone.
Thanks. It was a
Thanks,
really good
Brijesh.
discussion for me. Learned a lot. Thank you.
Same here.
Thank you. Bye bye.